Hello everybody, my name is Hayden and welcome to my channel. I'm a full-time software engineer based in London. In this video, we are going to talk about probably one of the most important things in Python programming, which is all about classes and objects. This is literally the best thing in Python programming. I find these things so fun and so useful. I want to share these with you now. So let's jump into the code and work out how we do these. Okay, so first off, let's kind of explain what a class is. If you've ever read up on classes, there's these classes, objects, blueprints, things. Let's not worry too much about them. Honestly, let's just keep these things simple. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. So if you was watching earlier in this tutorial series, we talked about functions. The reason we write functions is to deduplicate code. So we have this one function and it does one thing and we can reference that anywhere and it does the same thing because we don't have to rewrite that. So all a class is just kind of an extension of that because there's more things you'd want to do to that. It gets a little bit more complex. You know, let's say you've got lots of functions that perform something in the same data, you'd probably group that into a class because they're all similar things. They're all performing similar operations on some data. That's all a class is it is some data and a collection of methods or functions that you use on that data, and they're all kind of grouped together. So you'd put them all into a class and have them all in kind of one space and place for you to use. The best example of this is like, let's say your application is trying to do something with lots of people's data. So you could have one that works out the age of somebody, you know, are they over the age of 18? You know, what's their name? Have you got a greeting for them? Like hello this, hello that. You can say, you know, do they own a car? Do they own a house or something like this? You know, it's a person. The data is all personal, but you're performing different operations on that data. You could group these all into one class called maybe like a person class, and then have all these methods based off that do certain things on that data. So let's jump over to PyCharm now to work out how that actually happens in practice. So as always, we're going to come into here, we're going to go here, and we're going to go into Python, and we're going to call this classes. I'm going to add this, close this, and I'm going to make this really big. So like I said in the intro, we're going to make a person class. So in order to make a class in Python, you can type the class keyword and then the name of the class that you want to make. So I'm going to call this a person, and then you put these two dots, and that is your class created here. Inside a class, we said we can perform different functions on the class. So I can write def greet. I'm going to say greet this person. And I want to print, let's say something like hello, name of the person. But we don't know the name of the person yet because obviously we have to pass that in. So we can pass this in here to the name of the person, and then we can replace name here with the actual person name we pass in. Now this isn't very good because this isn't any different from a function, right? So we could just write, you know, we could just write greet as a function. There's no need for it to be actually in a class. So let's see how to kind of create this function that we did actually in the earlier video tutorial series. And let's see how you'd make this into a class. So what you can do in a class is you can do something called instantiate it with variables. And we use this double underscore in it. And what happens here is this, when you first create a class, you will call this method and it will set up the class for you. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to actually pass the name into here, and then I'm going to say we've got now a new variable called name. Now this self is a new thing that you've probably not seen before. So self means you're referring to the class itself. So on the class, you have kind of a reference to the internal of the class, and self is that thing. And all I'm doing here is I'm saying self.name. So I'm putting a variable called name onto the class, and then I'm assigning it to the name that we pass in here. So this could anything that we pass in, and I'm just assigning that to them. They don't have to be the same thing. I could call this name pass in, and then name passed in is name, but I'm actually referring to name here. But just for simplicity, what I'm actually going to do is just call these both the same thing because it just makes the most sense. That means down here in greeting, I don't actually need to pass the name in because I've already got that kind of data here, right? When I create the class, I've already got the name. So what we can do now is remove name from this, but you can see that Python's going to complain because it's going to go, well, you're referencing this variable called name, but I don't know where to get that from because it's outside the scope of kind of this function. But we do have access to self here. So what we can do is use the self here, and this is the great thing about classes, as we can say self. In fact, if I remove this self dot, and you can see the first thing that pops up there is name, and now I've got a reference to this name here. So that means these functions can be so much easier because now I can just say, you know, person.greet, and I can do, you know, name. So in order to actually create this person, so I'm going to create a person called Haydn, create a variable on the left, and then I call the name of the class on the right. So this is exactly like kind of creating a variable. But the only difference is here with a class in Python, you kind of start with a capital letter. That's kind of the standard syntax for Python. But I need to pass in a name here because this is complaining that, you know, I've not parameter names undefined, as you can see here. So I need to, because it is expecting me to pass in a name here. So what I can do is type in Haydn. And then that should be totally fine. Now I've got an object from the class person called Haydn, and I can do Haydn.greet. And what's going to happen here is when I run this, you can see this prints now hello Haydn, and I can make multiple of these now. So this is really fun. So I can do this, and I can say, let's say make Bob, Sally, bob.greet sally.greet. So now when I run all of these, you can see that we'll get hello Haydn, hello Bob, hello Sally, because each object now has a reference this greet method, and we're passing in different names here. Now you might think, okay, why is this so useful? But what we can do now is something really cool. So let's say we've got these 3 people. I'm going to make a list. So I'm going to say people, and I'm going to pass in Haydn, Bob, and Sally. So I've got a list of basically type person. So I've got a list of persons here. And then I can say for person in people, I want you to print person.greet. So I'm essentially iterating through all my people I've got here, and I don't need to know who it is. I don't need to know that it's Bob or Haydn or Sally. I can just know that it is a person object, and on that person object I've got methods that I can call, such as greet. And if I run this, we'll get probably exactly the same output as we did before. Print none. Where's none coming from? Oh, because I'm printing. I don't need to do that because we've already got a print there. Ooh. There we go. So I'm printing Haydn, Bob, and Sally because I'm passing around the data that is on that person, and then I can call different methods on this. And we can get really complex here. So let's see if I can do something more interesting. So let's say I can write a function that says is adult, something like this. And is an adult. And I'm going to say, if the age of a person, if an age of a person is greater than or equal to 18, then this person is an adult. So I can return, in fact, I can actually do this in one line. I can say, if the person is over 18, oh God, if the person is over 18, they're an adult, otherwise they are not. You can see age here is undefined because we don't know what the age is. So what I'm going to do now is get another bit of information from when we pass in these people, and I'm going to type in the age, right? And then if I come down here, I can say, right, self.age is 18, and if they're over the age of 18. So we're kind of similar doing self.name, we're doing self.age here on different parameters to pass in. So now let's say, Haydn is 21, Bob is, I'm going to say 15, and Sally is 18. And now here I can say person.is, because I've made another function on the class now, I can say is an adult. So I'm building up a lot of kind of complex logic based on some simple data. And you can see Haydn is an adult, Bob is not an adult, and Sally is an adult because 21 is greater than 18, 15 is not, and 18 is greater than or equal to 18. So we can do really fancy things now. I can say if, the person is an adult, then I want you to, I'm going to say person.greet, so we're going to always greet the person, and if the person is an adult, I'm going to go, wow, you are an adult. Crazy times. Otherwise, I want you to print, you have lots of growing up to do. So now we can basically build logic based off this data that we've got now. But what we're doing is we're encapsulating what I want to reference when what I want to emphasize when we're building classes is we're encapsulating all this data inside one thing. So if I ever want to kind of extend logic based on the data that is about a person, I just put it into the person class, and then it's all encapsulated in one thing, rather than having a lot of disparate functions all over your code base doing random different things for random things. All the logic is kind of grouped into one thing here. It's grouped into the person class, and you can, if I want to know how to do something on a person, then I can come here and look at the code, and it's all grouped in one place. It makes it so much easier to read code and kind of reason about code because it's all on the person object rather than disparate functions all over the place. So you can see here we're now conditioning based on if the person is an adult, and you can say, and we can have a look here, so we can say, hello Haydn, wow, you're an adult. Hello Bob, you have lots of growing up to do because he's not an adult. And hello Sally, you're an adult. So what I want to emphasize here is classes are so good at just grouping logical things that sit together. Like everything that is to do with a person should be on the person class. Everything to do with a cat should be on the cat class. Everything that's to do with a dog should be on the dog class. They're so good for kind of grouping these things together and having kind of similar related methods that can perform on, that need to perform on the same data. So rather than having in your code base everything all over the place, you just have a class that has all the kind of similar things, and it all just works on them. So classes are super powerful. I love them so much. They make your code so much easier to write and read and reason about because everything's grouped into one place. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. I'm obviously trying to grow my channel, so please do like and subscribe. If you have any comments about these, please do comment down below. I will reply to them. But thank you very much for watching and have a great day.